Hey, how's it going? Uh, Today I'm gonna talk about some of the solar myths. Sorry, my Spanish just like combobulates itself with my English. I'm gonna talk about some of the solar myths that I have experienced. Some of the things that I have researched on my own. Being in the industry, and I have some insights to see if I could actually teach you a little bit about solar. If you ever wonder to get your solar, or just in your home, or just trying to get into the sales industry, whichever part, uh, I think this is gonna help you clear a lot of the confusions. But overall, there is more to solar. But in this video regarding, I'm just gonna talk about some of the solar myths. So just to clear some things out of the way, because I see a lot of things. Who am I? My name is Brian, and I worked at a solar sales agency for like 7 to 8 months, and I learned a thing or two about working in the solar industry. Um, I really did get to see the good, the good and the bad of the solar industry, uh, by doing a lot of my own research actually. Um, and it was basically because a lot of people were telling me what solar was about, and then like, or sometimes they would make something up out of complete thin air. So that's why I had to do my own research and prove to see if what it actually how it actually works, basically. Why am I doing this? Well, because there is an enormous amount of misconception on how solar panels work, and solar rebates out there in social media. Um, so I'll go ahead and shed some light on the information going out there on how solar panels work. And I'm doing this because I'm kind of tired that seeing all the misleading information out there from like talking with so many homeowners and just like the solar reps in general. Like, I've spoken with a lot of people in the solar sales industry, but also like a lot of homeowners, and a lot of homeowners don't have a clear understanding as to how solar works. I'm guessing because it's quite new, or they just haven't really given it the thought to make it a decision to have it in their home, or just solar reps who have no idea what they're talking about, and sometimes they just tell you whatever to maybe get the sale. Um, a note on this is that this is for people who live in Texas and New Mexico. So if you live in those two specific states, I believe that you can find this really informational. If you have a different utility company, I suggest doing more research on that part of the aspect, because I'm just going to talk about over the overall aspect of solar, and I'm not going to go into detail with other utility companies, because right now where I've been working, it's basically just a monopoly. So you could either have like many companies like Dallas, Austin, or other parts of New Mexico. But in this case, I'm just going to talk about a single monopoly dealing with net metering. So yeah, so if you're living in like New Mexico or, well, Texas, you can have some pretty good information right here. So let's get to it. So some of the usual myths that I've seen sometimes, like for example ads on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, is that the government will pay for your solar panels, or they're free. Yeah, you can just Google that up and tell that like that's a lot of bullshit. Like the government is not going to pay for your solar panels. Like, I've seen those ads on YouTube that say that you the government is going to pay for your solar panels. I don't know if who believes that, but like, I feel bad for the people that do think that. The government is not going to pay for your solar panels. They're gonna do something else to incentivize you, but not buy them from buy them to get them. Uh, they're free. Yeah, I've seen people that say you can get solar panels at no cost, out of pocket. What this means is, I'm gonna. So this is basically okay. So when they say that they're free, what happens is that not well. First of all, nothing is free in this world, so that's where we're wrong in the first place. But when somebody says that you have free solar panels, What they're saying is that instead of paying the utility company, let's say that you're paying $120 a month. So what they're saying is, instead of paying the utility company, you can either finance a system, you can either finance, cash, or lease a system. With financing, what happens is that you own the system. So what they say is that you're not going to pay money for installation. You're not going to be paying any money for permitting or like inspection, but you are going to be paying an equal amount of 120 when you finance it. When you do it cash, well, you do it cash, so it doesn't really matter because you're not really paying monthly amounts. Leasing, you are paying monthly amounts, but you don't own the system, and I'm gonna get into more detail as to the differences between these two. But just for those who think that financing and leasing is the same thing, it's not. Just Google it. What is the difference between financing and leasing? You'll find out that financing and leasing is not the same thing. When you finance something, you own it. When you lease, you don't own it. Somebody else owns it. You're just basically renting. Almost the same as you're doing here. But I'm going to talk about as to how it's a little more beneficial than staying with the utility company. So yeah, just to keep this out of the way, solar panels are not free. Now, the government is giving out free money when you go solar. The government is not going to give you a check to go solar. I don't know if you've seen some of those TikTok ads or just YouTube ads that say that the government is going to give you a check. Like, they're just going to give you a check for like, I don't know, $10,000 or like $8,000 for going solar. No, that's not how that works. How it works is that there is a residential energy credit. Now, what is that? A quick Google search. Residential energy credit. Residential energy credit. The residential energy credit equals 30% of the cost of new qualified clean energy property of your home installed in time between 2022 and 2032. So the government is giving a 30% tax credit to the homes that qualify for their home. Now here you can find out information as to who qualifies, which kinds of systems qualify. Like the IRS has everything on that. So if you read more in detail, you're gonna find out like which homes qualify. Like, for example, if you're a landlord and you want to put solar panels in I don't know, like on apartments. If you're not living there 24/7, you're probably not gonna get it. If you're living there like 50% of the time, you're probably gonna get like maybe, I can't remember if it was like 20% of the tax credit. So yeah, this is for like homeowners who are like taxpayers. So the solar tax credit, I've heard also that it's based on income. Like, I've seen some people that I knocked on their doors and they say, I can't get the tax credit because I earn too much money. Then how is it that other people that get 20 kilowatt systems, 10 kilowatt systems, I've seen 50 kilowatt systems, get their credit? Is it based on income? I don't think so. It is not. When you get a solar panel system, you may qualify for it. How do you call it? It's not the word qualified. It's you can get it. You can, as long as you are paying taxes. You're a W-2 employee. If you're a W-2 employee, it's very likely that you can get it. But it's not guaranteed. When you're at 1099 or you're retired, it's really hard to get the tax credit. But if you're retired and you know how to do your taxes, then you can claim it if you know how to do your taxes, and you're still paying taxes. So there's a lot of things about the solar tax credit that's in the minds of a lot of people, because that's the reason that they want to do it, because of the tax credit. And the good thing is that this thing is like from 2023 until 2032, and it seems like the reason the government did that was because not a lot of people changed to solar. So there's still a long way to go for people to go solar, but the best, I don't know if you've heard, like they say that the best time to go solar is now. There's a reason, because the longer you wait, a year, 2 or 3, it's money that you're giving to the utility company for free. And you might say that, yeah, but we're consuming it. Yeah, but what's better, to put it onto a system that you own, that is going to generate you electricity for you, or just putting it into a utility company? Plus, the electric grid has taken so much freaking stress, even now more than ever, because we're getting so big in the population, so the grid is getting stressed. So the more people benefit by giving more to the grid with their solar panels, the better. It takes the stress off the grid. It benefits more people. Overall, solar is a great thing to actually change to. But let me digress. The government is giving free money. No, you can qualify for a 30% tax credit. Does it mean you're gonna get it? I don't know. You're gonna have to contact a tax advisor that can actually give you accurate information as to whether you can actually do it. So yeah, just do your research. Make sure you find somebody who can actually help you. Not because I've seen some tax advisors that for some reason don't want to do their jobs, and they tell people that they cannot get it for income reasons. So yeah. Number 3, your solar system will generate you money every month. Depends. So I'm gonna give you a small example. Let's say this is January, December. Now on your electric bill, you're supposed to see a bar graph like this. When it comes to the higher months, in Texas and New Mexico, this is mainly how it looks. So you have months like this. June, July, August, September, May, April. Like, you get it, right? So if you get a solar system to be designed at 100% of your consumption, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a line that you're going to see on your proposal. So it's going to go like this, and it's going to look like this, and like this. So if your system is designed at 100% of your consumption, this little line represents how much solar is going to cover your electricity consumption from the average of last year. So on this month, because you consumed less than the solar, you can generate credits on your electric bill. So you don't get paid, not yet, but you generate credits. And sometimes, depending on the utility company, you can get 13 cents per kilowatt if it's at 100%. And that's the case for this monopoly that we have with El Paso Electric. So throughout all these months, you basically generate credits. 1, 2, 3, 4. You generate those credits. Now, if you pass overboard, like in here, what happens is that for every single kilowatt that you overproduce, I can't remember if it was watt or a kilowatt. I think it was watt. What happens is that you're going to be charged for having solar $30 in Texas, or is it El Paso? Electricity charge for having no, interconnection fee. Interconnection fee in Texas. How much does it cost? Yeah, for example, Texas interconnection facilities in this specific utility company, it's 30.25 minimum. So just for having solar. As an example, like you can do your research on the specific city that you live in. So $30 on the electric bill, and if you pass a little bit, maybe you pay like 15 more bucks. So that is why in those months you can pay like maybe 45 to 65, let's say, right? Depending on how much you consumed. And that's gonna happen for every single month that you overpass this little yellow line. Now, if you're in somewhere like New Mexico, if you're somewhere like in New Mexico, what's gonna happen is that there is an interconnection fee of like $7.25, and since in the majority of the cases in Texas they only let you like 100% of your consumption to be covered by solar. I'm gonna get into a little more into this after. But in New Mexico, the limit is 100. Apparently, it's 120. Now, I don't know I don't think so. I don't think that this is the limit, but New Mexico solar offset limit. Oh yeah. It talks about the tax credit, but it doesn't really go into the okay. So, give you an example. In New Mexico, there's a lot of charges for electricity. So the limit is 120. So in here, because you have more leverage on these, this little line might go like maybe like this. So maybe you're just gonna have them 1 month. In that case, maybe you pay like $6. That's like 13.25, right? So that's only gonna be for like a couple of months, but then all throughout these months it's just credits building up. And I've seen some electric bills that built up these credits on the electric bill, and then they tell the utility company to convert those credits into checks from the electric company. So that is the cool part. And I've seen some tremendous amounts, like for $45, $50, $20, depends. It just depends. But that is what happens in New Mexico. You can put 120, or I've seen systems that go like at 160. Now, there's a lot of things going on in solar, but in general, when I used to work as a solar sales rep, this is the limit for a big company, for one big company. Now, what happens with the big solar companies is that they have a limit depending on the state. So if the company is more established, like it's bigger, what happens is that the utility companies put a limit on these solar companies because they're big, everybody knows them. But let's say that in Texas, they put a cap on the big companies to not go over 100%. But the local small solar companies, they can go upwards than 100%. How much? I've seen crazy amounts of 300%. 300%. That is insane. I don't know how the credits will work in this specific case, but we're talking about cases where all of a sudden the offset is way off, 300. Now, this can happen because solar is not a very regulated industry. Not yet. That is why things like this can happen. That is why sometimes people have like tremendous amounts of credits on their bills. And you can't explain it because it's too much. It's very unregulated, this industry. Now, this is what happens. So you can generate credits on the electric bill and make a little bit of money. But like I said, I've seen cases like they get 300% or more. I don't know what happened in that house, but apparently you can do that. Okay, so the fourth one. I don't qualify for the solar rebate because I make too much money. Like I said, right here, it says who qualifies. You may claim the residential energy credit for improvements on your main home, whether you own or rent it. Your main home is generally where you live most of the time. The credit applies to your new existing home located in the United States. You can't claim the credit if you're a landlord or other property owner who doesn't live in the home. Like if you're the landlord and you have apartments but you don't live there, you're probably not going to get the tax credit. You may be able to claim the tax credit for certain improvements to a second home located in the United States. Now, when we talk about income, it doesn't really specifically say how much income you have to make to get the tax credit. So that's why when I went to homes and I knocked on their doors, I told them to contact a tax advisor. Some of the people that I had contact with, and in that case, they just basically they found out with more information to see if they could actually get it. Did they get it? I'm not sure. I just gave them the contact information to see with the tax advisor, and well, they did their thing. And for that, they helped me out with like a lot of things. So I found that just by helping people with solar, something related to solar, it's like reciprocity. All of a sudden, you just tell them like, oh no, you just have to do this, or just call this phone number. And sometimes like it gets back to you like, oh shit, really? Oh, let me help you out. That person does this, that person does that, and it's like, oh shit, that is like pretty cool. It's like pretty cool. But anyway, it's not necessarily based on income. Now, this is what I've seen, and it's not something that I've seen on like Google where it says like you need a certain level of income to basically get a solar tax credit. So for example, is the residential energy based on income? No income. Now this is from here. Federal solar tax credit cash for homeowners 2023 Market Watch. Yeah. Oh yeah. Also the tax liability, man. Make sure you look into this because it also depends how much tax credit you can get. Let's say you qualify for 10,000, but then you owe to the IRS, or you owe to the IRS, or you owe money to the government. They're gonna take the tax credit and put it, the solar tax credit, and they're gonna take all the money that you owe from there. So yeah, or you don't have like a lot of tax liability. That's what happens when they say, oh, I'm not gonna get that much tax credit. Yeah. So make sure to look into this one. I don't qualify for the solar rebate because I don't have too much money. Okay. The electric company is getting everybody ready for solar. Kinda. I'm gonna give you an example as to what this means. Before going into that, I'm gonna explain to you a little bit as to how solar works. So this is a solar panel. This is the sun. And this is the radiation, right? So what happens is that when the sun hits the solar panel creates DC currents. Energy called it DC currents. Now, when it goes to DC, we cannot use it at the home unless your home has, for some reason, DC apparatuses there. But what usually happens with the solar panel system is that you have a solar panel system, it converts the irradiation to DC currents, then you have an inverter. the inverter converts the DC energy to AC currents. There you go. And this inverter is connected to a meter that sees how much energy is generated by the solar panels. Now the inverter and the meter are connected to the electric company meter, and the electric company meter is connected to the grid. If you want more information about the grid is basically divided into 4 different substations. The electric grid. So, well, that is not what I was looking for. Electric grid. So, grid, Texas freeze. Done. There's an article about this. So back in 2022, what happened was that there was a Texas freeze that basically, the electric power grid, which collapsed dramatically in 2021 winter storm, is being tested again as the state suffers unusually hot summer weather. So basically, there is 4, power grids in the United States. The one in Texas was mainly affected, and when that happened, the electric bills just skyrocketed. So whenever you don't change the solar, what happens is that whenever something like this, like Texas freeze happens, where like they make a new improvement to the poles, from the wooden poles to the metal poles, somebody's got to pay for that. And who do you think is going to pay for that? Us, taxpayers. So we got to pay for those things. So how do they do that? They raise our electric bills because we got to pay for that. That is why sometimes on your bills, whenever something like this, like Texas freeze happens, you see a dramatic increase on the bills. But back to what I was saying. Here, the grid. So where I'm located, we have the Western Interconnection Grid, the Western something grid. So we have the Western grid. We weren't affected by the Texas freeze, but we still have the Western. So whenever the Western happens, we're part of the Western. So I don't know why I got into detail as to the grid, the grids, but So just to go back to this. So when you consume electricity from this meter, the electric company is going to see, okay, this person consumed this amounts. They read it from the meter and they charged you based on that. Now when you have solar and you produce more electricity than you consumed, what happens is that the electric company buys the electricity you overproduced, and they give you credits. But the thing about the credits is that they're going to charge you less. They're not going to charge you that. They're going to buy the credits from you at a cheaper rate, and they're going to sell it to everybody else at a higher price. That's how they do it. So what's this meter, and what do I mean by the electric company getting ready? The electric company is getting ready for solar, or preparing the house for solar. So currently in my utility company, there are something called smart meters. Smart meters. So smart meters are being installed almost everywhere that the utility company has its reach. And they're going from 2023 up until 2025. Why are they doing this? Because they want to go 100% renewable by 2045. So that's why in some cases you have the utility companies building these solar farms, huge solar farms, and then they put programs for people to actually join. like communities, like community solar. So because they want to get in, so they want to go into renewable energy, and then they're noticing that the solar companies are just, well, they make the profit. The electric companies don't benefit from people having their own solar systems. So by doing this, they want to incentivize people to change to solar with the electric company. But the thing is that as of right now, most of the times when you join community solar like this, they reduce 30%. About 30%. It's just an estimate. They reduce about 20%, but you still have the 70% of electric bill. And as the years go by, with the rates increasing like crazy, you're still gonna be paying an electric bill. Which is why it's better to have your own solar panel system that produces you energy. But back to this, they're changing the meters because of that, because they want to get into the credits for this. And this one is a bi-directional meter. What is a bi-directional meter? It means that instead of having two meters, one that records how much electricity is being produced by the solar panels, they have this meter that spins one way when it consumes, and it spins another way when it produces more electricity than necessary. When it consumes, they don't pay you credits. When it overproduces, they give you these credits. But at the end of the day, the reason that they're changing the meter is because they are preparing the houses for renewable energy sources. That is why. All these solar programs are because, all these meter changes are because of the energy, how do you call it? Renewable energy mandates that they got going on. Okay. I cannot get more than 100% of offset on my home. It also depends. Like I said, where was it? What did I put it? Did I put it right here? Yep. So, in Texas, when you're a big solar company, like I said, just to recap, you can only put 100% of consumption. But if you're a local company, you can get away with this, with going higher than 100. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a lot of offset. I don't know how they're going to do it, but the reason that they can't do it, like I said, is because they haven't regulated the market quite yet. That is why you have a lot of people angry with solar systems, because it's an unregulated market. And when you have an unregulated market, you have a lot of customers pissed, because you can't really control what is good for the people and what is bad. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end up paying more for solar than the utility in 25 years. This is basically an objection, but to put it into perspective, there's this graph, right? So let's say you're paying 140 right now. The utility rates have been increasing for the past, I don't know how many years. Texas electricity rates. 14 cents per kilowatt. Yeah, sounds about right. 14.49. Okay. Texas electricity rate increases. Yeah. So in Texas, we're the highest consumers of electricity. So what happens is that the electricity rates keep skyrocketing every single year, apparently. Just like in 2022, when Texas freeze happened, just like in 2019 when COVID happened, like every single time some of these things affect the grid, we gotta pay it. So that's why you see the electric bills going up like crazy. So when you have an electric bill of 140 in the next 5 years, it could be at a rate that it keeps increasing, like it just keeps getting super high. In 5 years, we could be talking maybe, I don't know, maybe 200 or 190. 10 years, maybe we're talking about 240. 15, maybe 270. This is just an example. 20, 310. And this is going to be the average. As the dollar decreases in power, the rates are just going to skyrocket. But if you get solar, you can essentially freeze your rate at what it is currently right now. And you're not going to see utility rates go super high like they are. And currently there's 3 ways to get solar panels. So there's the first one, which is financing, cash, and leasing, and if you stay with the utility. So when you do financing, you own the system, you get the tax credit, and you can generate credits. Or if you want, you could just buy a battery. But depending on your market, if you want to take advantage of the credits, now's a good time to actually do it. If you want to get a battery, by all means, but you're going to miss out on a lot of the savings by getting those credits. And in here, you can add a battery, right? But in this one, when you finance it, you can get different interest rates. 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10. So the idea is that at 25 years, you want to pick the lowest interest rate. At the shortest time frame, 10 years, 7, you want to pick a high interest rate, like 10%. Why? If you choose 25 years at 3.99, you're going to collect 3.99 interest over 25 years. So the cost is not going to be as high as the utility companies. And utility companies, we're talking about a 13% increase. Well, that's how the utility company wants to increase our rates. So, yeah. The lower you get your rate to be at 25 years, the better. But the thing about that is that you only get to get this low rate if you have good credit. That's why they say that you have to qualify for the solar tax credit and for the solar. Like, solar is not for everybody. If you have bad credit, you're going to have a bad time getting those interest rates to go down. But if you have a great credit, you can get the system at 3.99%. And you're not going to have to deal with the bank. But the only bad thing about this is the dealer fees, but that's a story for another day. So yeah, 25 years, 3.99. 10 years, higher interest the better. Or however you want to put it, but this is normally how it goes. When you do cash, well, you own it. You take the tax credit, and you can get the credits. See how this goes? Here, you don't own it. No, you don't own it. You don't get the tax credit. And no credits. Why? Because in the leasing option is that the solar company, they're going to purchase the loan for you, and you're going to rent it. So the solar company owns the system, they maintain it, they keep the tax credit if there is possibility for them to get it, and they get the credits generated from the utility company. And that's how they make their money, the leasing companies. And that's after me speaking with somebody who worked in the leasing. With the utility, you don't own it. There is no tax. and you only see rates skyrocket. And that is a reality that we have right now. And since the government has the agenda of like going renewable energy, just like going to solar, that is why it's much more beneficial to basically go either these routes. Oh, and the leasing, my bad. What happens is that the rates are going to go up for you. Here the rates don't go up. The rates don't really go up. In here, there's a minimum of 2.99 of rate increases every single year. That's with leasing. And yeah, so that's how that works. And yeah, I think I'm done for like how essentially solar works. There's a lot more specific information that you can deal with, but in general, this is the idea as to how solar works. Now, the main thing about solar is that you want to get a system designed for the consumption. Now, you can get a system at 100% of consumption now, but you still gotta pay a fee. And this fee, over the course of 8 years, instead of being maybe 30, with inflation rates going up, this might go to, in 8 years, maybe go to, I don't know, 120. So you're gonna pay solar system plus this. So this is where you're gonna have to buy another system. That is why if you can get like maybe a solar local company who can do their job correctly, what they can do is that they can put you at bigger than 100%, so they can actually cover the $30. But if they do that, they're gonna have to change you to a different program. Now with the utility company that we have in El Paso Electric, there's 3 different programs, which is net metering, and there's 2 more that I can't remember, but whenever you go over 100%, you're gonna have to change to one of these. If you go to one of these, with my current utility company, they're gonna charge you like $45 for the first year, but then it's gonna go down to 30. And then, like I said, if you get a system like 130%, then the maximum amount of dollars you can pay for the system at the highest months in here could be like $6 or $10. And over the course of 8 years, that's not going to be as much as the 30. So yeah, this is an overall understanding as to how solar works. If you want more information as to how to sell solar, or just basically if you're a homeowner, how to choose a good, I guess, solar company, how to watch out for like different things, well, then you can reach out to me. If you're a solar rep, I know that the market right now is all about like red lines and base lines and all that. Like solar reps being screwed over for their money by big solar companies. It's just crazy. But yeah, so if you want to, yeah, so this is a video explaining to you how solar works overall. But there is a lot going on in the solar industry that if you're not living it, then you can't really understand what's going on. But since I was there, I experienced it, I know this is how it works. Well, in my current utility company, I don't know in other markets, but if you have like a different market, you can relate to your own by doing your own research on your specific market. So yeah, maybe in the future I'll make a video as to a lot of the dark stuff that I've seen too on solar. But other than that, this is just an overview for you to understand how solar works. And yeah, like I said, if you're a solar rep, wanting to know more information as to how to book appointments by yourself, or just getting a good presentation at the door, or just like getting inside the home to finally pitch to sell them, I have a little nuggets here and there that I learned from like a lot of people. So yeah, man. And if you're a homeowner, well then, now you know something new. So yeah, I guess that's it. Hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.